coming up on this edition of Southwest TV News. Well, it's been a hot and dry summer across southwest Saskatchewan, and as many have enjoyed basking in the sun, 2018 may be remembered as one of the hottest on record, with temperatures reaching the 40-degree range in recent days. Grasslands National Park is an attraction for thousands of tourists each year, and as visitors come to this open prairie grassland to experience its solitude, breathtaking vistas, and various wildlife, park officials are doing their part to ensure the park experience is positive for visitors and the numerous wildlife species which call the area their home. Every year, hundreds of accidents are reported across the prairies on the farm. And according to the Canadian Centre for Health and Safety in Agriculture, those numbers are highest between August and October. Thanks for joining us here today. The summer of 2018 has been hot and dry, with numerous records set across the Southwest. We have more in today's top story. Well, it's been a hot and dry summer across southwest Saskatchewan, and as many have enjoyed basking in the sun, 2018 may be remembered as one of the hottest on record, with temperatures reaching the 40-degree range in recent days.
Well, and even 2 days in a row above 40 has never happened before in records that go back to the 1800s. And, I mean, the warmest moment was back in 1886. This broke an all-time August record in terms of 40.1. The previous, you have to go back to 1885, and we still, since we've had records, and nothing has topped it in August. And, you know, you're right, Carol. I mean, it's harder to break a record in August because we're beyond the dog days of summer. We're losing 2.5 minutes a day in terms of sunshine, the daylight, and the sun is a little lower in the sky. So it's hard for nature to bake those kind of temperatures. As I say, it's set a pattern. You've had 20 days above 30 this summer so far. My gosh, we have to start counting the days above 40. Because, you know, a day above 30 could be 30.1, 30.2. But to get to 40, I mean, it is truly quite something. You normally would have about, by this time, 10 days above 30, and you've had already 20 and a couple, of course, above 40.
Coinciding with the hot temperatures has been the lack of moisture across the southwest, with only 38% of the normal amount of rain throughout the summer season. And as autumn approaches, we get this long-term weather outlook for the region.
Our forecast for late summer and into fall is warmer and drier than normal. That is what our prospects are. It doesn't mean you can't get a big gully washer on one particular day, but it means the flavor of from this point in August into mid-September, we're calling it for it to be warmer and drier than normal. Now, in terms of the winter, and I will offer you something that we're just learning now, there is an El Nino. El Nino is this warm water in the Pacific, and it generally means for Saskatchewan a milder than normal winter. It depends upon the intensity of El Nino and the size of it. We don't know that yet. But certainly there's early indications. Sort of the dice have been loaded to give you kind of maybe a milder than normal winter than you had last year. Let's face it, we're not canceling it. You're going to still have winter, but it's whether it goes on as long as it did last year and whether it's as intensely cold. We think not. We think that there will be a little bit more milder temperatures.
The normal daytime high for this time of the year in the southwest is 26, with a low of 11. Well, what do you know about rattlesnakes? In this special report, we take a closer look at Grasslands National Park and one of its unique species. Grasslands National Park is an attraction for thousands of tourists each year. And as visitors come to this open prairie grassland to experience its solitude, breathtaking vistas, and various wildlife, park officials are doing their part to ensure the park experience is positive for visitors and the numerous wildlife species which call the area their home. And as you take a stroll through the many hiking trails and other areas of the park, you may encounter a prairie rattlesnake, a unique species to Saskatchewan, and one which you should know how to identify.
A few of the ways that you can identify a prairie rattlesnake is the rattle, but remember that the rattle isn't always present. It could be broken off, or it could be a really young snake, so the rattle hasn't fully formed yet. The shape of the head is more of a diamond shape, so the nose is pointed. The sides of the head are kind of wide out to the side, but then it comes back in to form that distinct neck area. It'll have brown saddles down its back that look like these dark brown blotches on a tan, sort of light brown background.
And park staff go through regular training each year, learning about the prairie rattlesnake and how to properly handle them.
There you go. Perfect. The hooks are from a company called Midwest Snake Tongs. They make really sturdy ones. They have different size tips on them. This one's a little bit smaller for smaller size snakes, but you can also get much bigger ones that are meant for larger bodied snakes. And you want to use the appropriate one for the snake that you're moving, just to make it as comfortable for the snake as possible, because the more uncomfortable they are, the more out of control they're going to get. The striking distance for this species is typically a third of the body length. Sometimes with a longer snake, it can be a little bit more than that.
A training process which is not only important for the staff, but also for the prairie rattlesnake, in order to minimize human-wildlife conflict. And although the prairie rattlesnake is not considered a species at risk at this time, the park is closely monitoring the snake population in the area and what steps, if any, can be taken to maintain their longevity in the park.
So we do have a traffic mitigation strategy in place, which means that we are recording every snake crossing and encounter we come across, or that we reported, or any road kill that suggests that was a crossing, and basically assess the hotspots for those crossing and try to intervene in a way by mitigating those mortalities by creating low speed zones to further assist wildlife protection.
Grasslands National Park is one of the many jewels of southwest Saskatchewan and is located 90 minutes south of Swift Current. Another Saskatchewan harvest is underway, and as producers put in long hours out in the field, safety is in the spotlight. Another harvest season is underway across Saskatchewan, and as many producers prepare to put in long hours out on the field, safety should always be top of mind. Every year, hundreds of accidents are reported across the prairies on the farm, and according to the Canadian Centre for Health and Safety in Agriculture, those numbers are highest between August and October.
Putting in the long hours impairs your judgment and your reaction time, so it's we often don't think of ourselves when we're trying to get a lot of work done in a short period of time, but that's when we need to do it more than ever, and that includes things like making sure you're eating well, good nutrition, and staying well hydrated, drinking a lot of water, having healthy snacks, and it's when you're working the long hours, it helps to change your jobs periodically, get out and take a short walk around your equipment. And there's the power of a 20-minute nap that can really help you feel refreshed and restored when you're putting in those long days.
Ulmer adds that 80% of accidents during harvest involve machinery or other motor vehicles such as grain trucks, with 8% of accidents involving youth under the age of 14. Therefore, extra precautions should be taken when children are near equipment.
It's dangerous to bring the young children with you when you're working. Most children involved in serious farm injury events are actually in the company of an adult at the time of the event. So it's important that young children are in designated play areas so they're not running around where implements and machinery are coming and going into the yard. It's also important that youth that are involved in farm activities or are doing tasks that are age appropriate, that they're developmentally ready and to do those tasks and are supervised closely.
Producers experiencing additional stress during the harvest season or having health concerns for any environmental elements they've been exposed to can access information through the Canadian Centre for Health and Safety. Well, this brings to a close another episode of Southwest TV News, reporting the stories that matter to you. We always welcome your news tips. You can always reach us here by phone at our studio or by email to contact us at southwesttvnews.com. Also, be sure to join us daily online for the latest news from across Southwest Saskatchewan and so much more at southwesttvnews.com. And be sure to follow us on a range of social media. Thanks for joining us here today. I'm Carol Andrews.